Your plan ended up with a budget that was roughly in balance by 2054, 30 years from now. You brought down the debt to just below 60% of GDP. It's now about 100% and projected to go to 166%. So you really made a big dent in the debt. Did you start out with those goals, or did you look at policies and just sort of come what may?
It's a good question. There's some element as all of the organizations are developing these plans of you're not quite flying blind, but you don't have perfect visibility as you're developing these plans because, of course, as Jeff may have covered, as your listeners may know, we partnered with Peterson partnered with Tax Policy Center to do some of the revenue modeling and scoring on the tax side of things. And then we were working with Barry Anderson, a former senior Congressional Budget Office official on the spending side of things. And so you're trying to you're trying to outline these policies and hope that you land on certain goals. And I can tell you for BPC, we didn't have specific quantitative goals. We didn't have, hey, we really need to hit 50% debt to GDP in the 30th year, or 60% or 75%. What we were more looking towards, and I know a lot of the other organizations were thinking in a similar way, was well, two priorities. The first is debt stabilization. And that can be defined in a multitude of ways, but we basically said to ourselves we would be satisfied if that line graph of debt to GDP, instead of skyrocketing in the next 30 years as it's currently projected to do so under the Congressional Budget Office baseline, if that was flatter or even declining slightly over that 30-year window. And so we're happy to say we hit our mark there. And then our second goal, given that we are the Bipartisan Policy Center, that our mission and our mandate is to propose policy solutions that are capable of winning support on both sides of the aisle, bringing the two parties together to solve key challenges, was to have a fairly equal mix of revenue increases and spending cuts in the plan, because we know that the preferred Democratic Party approach to reducing debt is by increasing taxes, and we know the preferred Republican Party approach to reducing debt is by decreasing spending. And so where we came out, when you exclude some of the items in there, such as immigration reform, which increases revenue but is not a tax increase in the traditional sense, and when you exclude macroeconomic feedback, the positive revenue effects we get from reducing the debts and from reforming the tax code, when you take out some of those elements, we were about at a 55 to 45% mix of revenue increases and spending cuts. So I'm happy to say that we hit our mark there as well.